Hi, Daniel here from Your Hot Property. People are always pretty interested when I tell them what I do for a living. I mean, agent-assisted sales is a new concept for most people, so I find they often have a few questions. One of the most common ones has been, what do you say to the buyers? How do they feel when they realise that they're speaking directly to the owner? And it made me think, you've probably been wondering the same thing. So I wanted to touch on some of the most common questions prospective buyers might ask you and the best ways to respond to them. A very common question is, how long has a property been on the market? This information, most buyers could easily find out themselves by searching online. So if a buyer asks you this question, they're generally just trying to gauge how keen you are to sell. For the majority of vendors, the motivation to sell increases with the amount of time a property has been on the market. Buyers understand that if the property has been for sale for, say, at least 6 to 8 weeks, the owner may be starting to think that the property could be overpriced and they may be becoming a little bit desperate to sell and more likely to negotiate. Be prepared for this question and have a great answer ready so you're not caught off guard. Always answer this question with how many weeks a property has been on the market rather than how many months, and do be honest when you answer. Another one is, are you negotiable on price? There are really only two answers to this question, either yes or no, and it's all based on how desperate you are to sell. I'm sure you've heard the saying, everything's negotiable. It's true, everything is negotiable. That's how all great sales are made. You just have to decide what you're willing to negotiate on. You need to make sure you answer this question correctly, otherwise it could cost you thousands of dollars. If you're flexible with the price that you've advertised, you can always say, I'm certainly open to a discussion with any serious buyers. But if you aren't willing to accept anything less, just be honest and say, no, I'm sorry, the price is blah, 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 which I believe to be fair for the current market. The next one will generally be asked in a very casual conversation, so do be ready for it. Why are you selling? Sometimes buyers are just curious and sometimes they have an ulterior motive. Just don't give away too much information unnecessarily. Generally, the reason they ask this question isn't just to fill dead air, they're trying to work out how eager you are to sell and if you may be operating with a deadline. If you were to tell the buyer that you're moving in 6 to 8 weeks' time, then they know that you may be willing to accept a reduced price in order to get the property sold. This could also apply if you were to tell a buyer that you've bought elsewhere. Never do this. Be honest and definitely be yourself. Just don't give away information that isn't crucial to securing that buyer. Oh, and this one I love. Have you had any offers so far? If so, how much? Now, when a buyer asks you this question, they're probing you for information on offers that you may have declined or ones you may have previously accepted that had possibly fallen through. The buyer will then use this information to work out what you're willing to accept and what other buyers believe the property to be worth. Once again, never give away this information. A great answer might be, yes, there has been steady buyer interest in the property. We've received a couple of offers that were close to what we're looking for and we're still in negotiations. But at this time, we haven't actually accepted anything. And look, here's a stupid one, but it's something you will get asked. What is the lowest price you're willing to accept? Now, this may surprise you, but many agents tell buyers this information to ensure a sale eventuates and they get their commission. As a private seller, you never want to do this. Do not disclose your bottom line. If you do, you will not get a cent over your asking price. If you want to be coy and even a little playful when answering this, you could always respond with, probably not as low as you'd be hoping for, and say it with a smile and just leave it at that. Lastly, make sure you know your property inside and out. One of the advantages of selling privately is being able to answer any buyer questions right on the spot, and these answers will be expected too. Just don't fumble your way through a conversation because you've been too lazy to look up a few key facts. Things you may want to know is your land size, council rates, strata fees, bylaws, pets allowed, the internal property size, maybe when the dwelling was built. These are common questions, so be prepared to answer them. The best advice I can give you is to be honest in all your dealings and just don't give away too much information unnecessarily. If you get asked a question that's a little left of field and it's something that doesn't have to be answered on the spot, just let them know that you'll have an answer for them as soon as possible and consider your response before contacting them back. Remember, if you get stuck on something, you can contact us whenever you need to. Even if it's just as a sounding board, it's what we're here for. Thanks very much. Talk to you soon.